Okay, here we go then. I'm going to start it off, kick it off proper like in 3, 2, 1.
You guys are just awesome.
Nope, that's not the right link. Hold on.
I like that.
That was
though.
pretty
No,
good
let's
though.
have
Let's
that.
yeah.
I
come
did
on.
that
You
last week.
guys are just awesome.
I did that last week. Hold on a sec. Here it is. I found it. Okay. Actually, I got a great one from Dills that someone captured last week. Let's see if I can... yeah, let me put this in here. No, not that.
That's
old.
a good one.
That is a good one. That was not for me though.
That's old. Here you are. Okay, this is from last week.
Here's a stick and some balls. Go at it.
There you go. Someone sent
Wow.
us that. I don't know why.
Wow.
Okay, here we go. For real this time. In 3, 2, 1.
We will never be slaves! You're listening to The Instance.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to The Instance. This is The Instance episode 376 for Friday, August 15th, 2014. It's a big week, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott Johnson, and that's Dills. Hello, Dills.
Hello, Scott.
It's good to have you here, as always.
It's good to be here. I had to restart some things, but I think everything's working.
Everything's
now.
good.
Still
You sound fantastic.
Still testing.
Kind of, I'm a little aroused by how good you sound right now.
Oh.
Well then.
Also, Turpster coming on back from his big family vacation trip thing. He's back, man. How's it going? How you doing?
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Just fantastic. Drove all day today just to get back for this.
Yeah.
Just purely because of yesterday.
Really?
I couldn't miss it.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So excited!
This is a great little forum for us to talk about all the business that happened yesterday. The Horde heavy day of Cavalcade of Stars over there at Blizzard there in LA. We'll get to all of that in the news because there's plenty to cover there, and we'll talk about our impressions of the cinematic, what we think about the release date, some of the other things that have been revealed both there and at Gamescom. I mean, in a way, I'm glad you had that trip because you didn't go to Gamescom, which means we wouldn't have been able to talk to you today because you'd probably be on stage right now with that Yogs thing.
Cool. Yeah, but that would have been really cool, and I would have got a chance to talk to like Tom Chilton and find out even more secrets
Because he could have got the inside scoop.
He's just been giving so many scoops out. He's like the ice cream man, and he's like 1 scoop or 2, and he says, "Lol, just joking. Here's 8 scoops."
Right.
And it's like, I got so many scoops. It just feels like good value.
Yeah, I'm a little
That's why I
surprised.
always have Chilton's ice cream. It's
That's
the
actually doesn't. That sounds like a real brand.
prettiest.
Yeah, it sounds like a real
Yeah.
brand. I would.
I'll go for a Blizzard, please.
I would argue. I would argue that they are giving out more info that Gamescom than they have at any other thing so far this year about Warlords of Draenor, which really kind of surprised
I think
me.
it's because they don't know. They haven't known for the whole year, like when they're going to put it
Yeah,
out.
they finally know stuff.
And now they're like, okay, well, it's going to be November 13th.
Yeah.
So what's going to be done by then?
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, cool. Well, let's just tell everyone about this.
Yeah.
Because I feel really bad. All the negative stuff that's come out after the announcement has all been because Blizzard told us stuff before they would have previously told us stuff.
Yeah.
And now it's stuff like, oh, so we're not getting, that zone at launch. We're not getting those races updated at launch. We're not getting this until a later patch. And it's the sort of thing where people are like, oh, this is bad. And it's because, previously Blizzard just wouldn't have told us anything.
Right.
And we would have been theory crafting around like, oh, I wonder what this is. And so there's always going to be that balance when they open things up.
Think they'll get better in the future at
broader.
coming out early and saying we are trying to do all the new races, but we're not sure we're going to get to every one of them in time. And then
I think
that's
it's
enough.
tricky. Exactly. I think it's really hard for them to kind of make an exciting message where they're like, "Yo, this is great," but at the same time preface it with, "But it might not actually happen." I think that's always the tricky balance.
Yeah.
Well, we're also not used to them giving us so much so early, so we might have different expectations about when the announcements come and when the games come. Everything's supposed to be done, and Blizzard it's a brave new world where they're like telling us all this stuff early and being really communicative, and we're just not used to it. So we're expecting, everything's got to be done by the time the game comes out, right? Because that's Blizzard.
Yeah.
But they're like, I would rather the game come out on November 13th. than wait
I'd
until
rather it
December
comes out
and have a couple
tomorrow.
more things.
Sure.
Yeah, I would have it now. Let's play it. Let me start leveling. Let me play through the beta, but as it persistent, I just want it, and I always want stuff. I'm terrible at waiting. I'm not.
Yeah, you're not a very patient man, no.
No.
But if they did put it out today, you'd have just umpteen million players who are, super big on the whole server first and world first and everything first thing that would be just complaining to high heaven that they couldn't get to the final boss of whatever wing of whatever thing they're going to put in there as quick as humanly possible. And I know they pace a lot of that stuff out. And of course, we don't get, the third major patch that has the big final baddie in it until way down the road. But they want it. If they're going to get it, they're going to want everything possible that's there. So Blizzard having to backpedal on a few features, you're right, would have been behind closed doors and would have never been a public thing in the first place in older
Because previously,
expansions.
if you think back to kind of previous examples, it would be like flying combat in Wrath of the Lich King.
Yeah, or
The
Dance Studio.
in Burning
Yeah.
Crusade.
Yeah.
There were headline things that they told us before, but they were singular things.
Yeah.
And now, because they told us about so much of their plans, as that's evolved, and as, say, like garrisons have evolved to be as they are now versus how they were envisaged to begin with, it's all one of those things that is always tricky for Blizzard in terms of, communicating, this is what we want to make, but at the same time, reminding people that they have an iterative style of development. That means that they make that, then they actually find out that's crap, and that they make it again, and they're like, oh, this is much better, this version, or this one fits in, or is actually more manageable, and it means we can make these other three things, whereas if we made it how we were going to do, we could only make the one. All of those sorts of things. It's just very hard when you put it out to the internet as this big echo chamber of negative voice. It's always hard to kind of make sure that they're aware of the realities and the context of all of that.
And their iterative nature goes against, or seems to kind of go against that that openness in a way, because they have to be able to still retain their policy and internal culture of, if it's not working, we toss it, or if it's not working, we revamp it or redo it, or if it's not as polished as we need it to be, we delay it. Those kinds of things still exist at Blizzard, and I hope they always do, because it's what produces great content and great games. But it does seem to kind of grind against the new openness of Blizzard as well. Like that part, I want that part. We want that part as people who cover this and are interested in this on all kinds of levels, but even down to a player who just wants to play the game. You still want Blizzard to be open. You just have to measure that and say, well, okay, well, what does this openness mean? It means we are getting a better peek at how the sausage is made, and sometimes the sausage falls on the floor, the machine breaks. They decide they're going to go with a whole new flavor of sausage. Somebody accidentally put more bones in the sausage than they meant to. Like, we're going to see some of that. And
yeah, you see the rat that went down the sausage machine and fell
Yes.
in. You're like, oh, man.
yeah, right?
I
want that
enjoyed those
sausage,
sausages. I didn't know that I liked rat. Now I don't feel as good.
You're like, yeah, but it's so good. I still want the sausage. I don't care.
And then there was some who want the rat to stay and are pissed that they took
Yeah,
the
like,
rat
can
out.
you get another rat in there, please?
Yeah.
It's not fair. I want more rats.
It's just it's just such a jumble, and I think they're finally getting their heads around being okay with that. Like, I was telling Turpster before the show a little bit that I don't know why, but I started reading YouTube comments on the cinematic trailer.
Oh, God.
And
What
that's
were you
so
thinking?
stupid. And part of it was me thinking, let's see
Like,
how quickly
somehow
this gets bad.
racism got involved in the. I don't even know where they found that,
Yeah,
but okay.
There were comments about elderly rape and
What?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
It's just-
Oh,
a
the
facade.
internet.
eventually it had nothing to do with the game or the
Sure.
trailer or anything. But what's great is sandwiched in between this horrific human display of terrible anonymity, there would be a tiny little morsel. A guy goes, "This is really cool. I'm really looking forward to the expansion." And then buried again in all of these other comments about how Obama ate your kid or something. And you're just like, what are we doing here?
I love when someone says that they're excited for it, and then they get slammed for being excited for it, because
Right.
slamming the company's not enough. I also need to slam anybody who is excited.
I hate that you like it.
Yeah. How could you even like this?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I just do.
There are some interesting counterpoints to Blizzard's vision with that thing, which we'll get to in the news section and talk about whether or not there's validity to the clear. Well, I mean, whatever. There's an entire focus on the Iron Horde here, that doesn't, previous to this, you've got kind of a mix of things going on. Although I'd say Wrath of the Lich King was clearly focused on the Lich King himself and his sort of risen minions, and there was no Alliance or Horde represented there. But, you can get into these crazy, deep, silly arguments about what Blizzard should or shouldn't do, and I have some thoughts on that. So we'll get to all that in a minute. But I've had no time to play the game that we're talking about here at all. That really this last week I played a little with my mage, hopped in, did some stuff, ran some dailies, got out. That was about it. Not a ton of stuff going on. Turpster, did you get any time on your trip? Like, I don't know.
Sadly, not. No, again, I think I played a load of Hearthstone on my iPad, like hours and hours. I was basically up in like this weird old Tudor house in the middle of North Wales. Just it had no phone reception at all. They had Wi-Fi that was intermittent, and watching yesterday's live stream on it was horrid because it would just keep dropping out. Yeah. And so halfway through the trailers, they were premiering, it just dropped out, and I was just like, no! And I was, because I got all of like the guy from GameSpot talking about stuff, and I was just like, okay, I get it, you're from GameSpot. And then they finally got around to, like, I watched all of the Lord of War bit, and that was amazing. And then it cut out on the trailer, and I was like, no, but then I watched it on YouTube, and all was well. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of Hearthstone just purely because it's available on an iPad, and that's easy to travel with. I've got a new Shaman deck that uses reincarnation with all the death rattles and Baron Rivendare, and I try and play a Cairn Bloodhoof and Baron Rivendare reincarnate, and then I've got 3, 4, 5s on the board, and it's beautiful. When the stars align, the deck is amazing.
Are you doing with the Shaman thing?
Its win rate is about 50.
It's not actually good, but sometimes it's amazing.
Exactly. It is. It's like sometimes it's just terrible, and other times it's legendary.
Are you doing the Earth Elemental with the Ancestral Spirit as well?
No, I don't have the Earth Elemental in there.
Oh man, you got to go with that too, because.
But the thing is, I've gone for Thugen and
you're doing
Stalag.
Wigan and Stalag.
So I'm trying to get
It's just the dream deck, is what it is.
Yeah,
then. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
It's just that if the
either
planets
the dream
align,
or a bunch of totems, and I never try anything good.
Exactly, it's like Exodia. There's just the chance that I win. I win.
But when you win, it's in spectacular fashion. So
yes, exactly, and it's a great way to play. But it does make me kind of really want something from WoW that works as a game component on my iPad. Yeah, and there is a mobile team within Blizzard, and it's something that Blizzard, I feel, should. Because I've asked now many times, as have you, develop something that allows us to have some element of World of Warcraft available to us on the go. We've got the auction house.
Is that's
kind not
right?
Kind of, but I would like to have that. Like, I think if they just
WoW,
I want like pet battles. I want to have Hearthstone be a actual component or rep or something in WoW. I want to be able to play a game. And when I come back to WoW, that character or that account on WoW has progressed.
Even if all it is logging in and a big, beautiful bling, like an achievement style banner thing pops up and says, "While you were away, you achieved whatever."
Well, but even then, like with garrisons and being able to send guys off on quests, having that as an iPad portal would be fantastic. Yeah, and being able to go in and check my dudes and go and run down that path. That would be amazing. Yeah. And to have that accessibility on the go.
All right.
They got farming, garrisons, pet battles. There's so many things that have been introduced to the game that would be perfect on iOS. So, yeah, I totally agree. Let's make it happen, Blizzard.
Yeah.
I know you're not busy with anything else right now.
You ain't got shit going on.
I think ultimately, if you look at it purely from a cold business perspective, the cost of putting a team on that versus speculating on another game versus the return of producing something that Blizzard Warcraft players are going to play and just invest time and money into, it's got to make sense to be the thing to do. So I don't know.
And we know they got not secret. Well, I guess it is secret, but they've got mobile projects underway that aren't Hearthstone. Yeah. So you have to think that they're going to do things that support they're going to best support what they're doing, right? Like it's
Sure,
not
you'd
going
hope
to,
so.
yeah, they're not going to make a mobile, let's say, you know, they're not going to make a mobile, I don't know, StarCraft Vespine gas earner thing, Clash of Clans style or something.
Yeah.
They're going to focus something on either WoW or something connected to possibly, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, Heroes could maybe do something, or I don't know what else. But WoW makes perfect sense. Diablo maybe, but WoW totally. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see it. I would like to see exactly what Turpster's talking about, which is the crossover into the games that already exist. But they could really do any of the games. They could find little things, little tasks for you to do, and have it just be kind of like your little Blizzard mobile experience, you know?
Right on.
But yeah, that'd be amazing. I just don't do like StarCraft workers barbershop thing or whatever, where you click, click on your guy and then tell him to go over here and drop off his gas. No, never do that, please.
Oh, I don't know though, dude.
Oh, Scott.
You know, like what was the time management genre that's kind of out of favor now?
You like those actually?
I kind of do like those.
I hate those games. I cannot do it.
Sally Spa.
Yeah, Sally Spa, dude. That's the one. That was the
Just
granddaddy.
oh my god, I love this so much. Oh, my pedicure machine. I need to upgrade this straight away.
I totally would play that. I
think
care.
that's great. And again, swap out the pedicure for an axe.
It's the Protoss pizza place.
Exactly.
No.
I would love it. It would be great. It'd be great.
If you made it well, I would sure as hell play that. Actually, I've told you what I want from Blizzard, and I would do this in a heartbeat. And so here's my secret wish as to what they're working on. And it may or may not have the impact on another game, like, you know, the way Turpster's saying, have an impact WoW or something. But give me a World of Warcraft, characters, story, lore, all that stuff. But give me a turn-based strategy game. And I realize Hearthstone is kind of that. But what I'm talking about is like Heroes of Might and Magic style. Turn-based grid, get them out there,
I'd say Warcraft 2 Tides, or maybe Warcraft 3. Just make those on iOS.
But not, I don't want real time though. I don't want real
port
time.
it. That'd be easy. It'd be fine. Port it, doesn't matter.
Port it and make it turn-based.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
It has
Done.
to be turn-based, or else it's too much.
It's too much for mobile. I think mobile really lends itself well to that thing.
The Final Fantasy Tactics style stuff is like exactly perfect.
Or just, dude, skin up freaking Rogue Legacy with WoW stuff and let me play that. Like there are all kinds of opportunities to make lower impact, fun games with like lots of cool progression ideas and roguelike qualities and things like that. Just use your license and give me more. I'm ready. A Protoss pizza place, man. I'm in.
Protoss pizza place.
Do it.
Let's do it.
Do it.
Dill's nailed it. So Dill, speaking of you nailing it, you went and raided Nax like you promised last week. How did that go?
I did, yeah. So I sent out the call in guild chat, and we got about 15 people or so. Garrett was along for the ride. We had a shoujo beat there.
Nice.
It was pretty fun. Yeah, it was all super quick. You just go in there and, we pulled...
Everything just falls.
Yeah, we pulled patchwork before clearing the room. We were just, none of it mattered. Grobulus, we were like, oh, he's still running up the steps. Go get him. Just him and all the giants in the room and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was really nostalgic and fun. And just seeing the inside of those places again brought back a lot of memories. So we ended up, after we did Nax in about 20 minutes, we did Ulduar and TOC. We actually did have a level 80 with us, though, so he was stoked. He was getting all kinds of gear and stuff.
I bet he was, yeah.
And, and then we were going to do ICC as well, but we ended up, that was a little bit of a long night. Oh, and we did Malagos, too.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. We just did
freaking Malagos at its height. What a freaking pain
we were doing
in the
on
ass.
25 man, so
Oh yeah, because you would have got the key. Yeah.
Yeah, we did I got so many new achievements. I think Shoujo got over 12,000.
Really easy fight now.
It's really easy. He dies before anything happens.
It's one of those things where you're like, oh, wait, was this the hard mode?
It was so difficult back in the day, but he just falls over now. But you still get the title for 25 man, which I didn't have, so that was cool.
All right, because we only did 10 when we did them before.
Yeah, we did 10 man, so we had whatever it was, Space Walker. I don't even remember now. But
Space Walker McGillicuddy.
Star Caller.
Star Lord.
Yeah.
No, that's not it.
Star Lord. You're the Guardian.
That's it. Yeah.
You get the Chris Pratt achievement. Fantastic.
Yeah, the Chris Pratt title, exactly.
Yeah.
So that was tons of fun, and I want to do more of that because it was just a really good time, and it's really easy to put together. So if you're in guild chat and I put the call out, You should come along. Anybody out there listening?
I want to do that again. I really wanted to do it then. In fact, had I known, I would have just hopped in there. That sounds like fun. I really wanted to see this stuff again, like you were saying. Just go in there and go, oh yeah, remember this? Oh, dude, the freaking pipe. If you stayed in that pipe too long, you'd die. But now, who cares? And
yeah, nobody cares now. Yeah, but it was. I mean, like we were purposely running into the little slimes after patchwork to see if they kill us. You know,
yeah, they weren't doing anything.
Yeah, they did nothing. The funny thing though is that the slime and the slime running along the ground.
Yeah.
That stuff still it used to take half of your health when it was 40,000 or whatever. Now that it's 110,000, still takes half.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's been buffed. Yeah,
that's weird.
Percentage-based pain.
Yeah, but it was really fun. So anybody who hasn't done that stuff, I recommend go back and just do it just for fun. It's just so cool. We spent so much time in Old War and stuff, and we were doing all the hard modes. So
yeah.
It was excellent.
It is definitely worthwhile going back and playing through old content if you didn't get a chance to before.
Yeah,
it's so cool.
And even if you did, there's just such nostalgia in there. You had so many fun times. Like
I was on the WoW Reddit the other day, and someone was talking about how they had spent so much time playing WoW, and they wrote this really long story, and this would have been good for like an R best of or something like that, because it was actually really cool. So he wrote this whole thing about how he loved playing WoW. He's 30 now, and he has a house and kids, and he has to not play anymore.
Right.
But his final, he quit. He canceled his sub, and as his last act, he went and soloed Karazhan, and went up to the top, and killed the final boss, and then sat there, and then the pop up came up that said your game time is about to run out. And then he cried.
Oh, dude, it ran out while he sat there? That's insane.
Yeah. While he sat there at the top of Karazhan, remembering all the times they, struggled to beat all these bosses and stuff. And now he's soloing it.
Wow.
And turned it off. And then he said, World of Warcraft forever, but never again, or something like that.
Oh, man. That's intense.
That's intense. I get it. I feel you.
I feel you, buddy.
But except for me, it's still wow.
Well, tell me about your real quick, because some people are concerned about your motorcycle going away. I hear you got a car. What'd you do?
I did. I bought a car actually this time. So, as some of you know, my motorcycle got hit, and the damage was enough that they weren't going to fix it. So
that was the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you on it when it got hit? I forgot to ask you that.
No, I was not on it. Thankfully,
all right.
It was parked, and I actually was worried that because I wasn't there, I wasn't going to get any kind of settlement, but. It was easy. I just did the thing. They cut me the check, and now I have a car. So awesome.
Oh wow.
You insurance?
What'd you end up with? What is it?
I got a Ford Focus. I just need a small car.
Nothing wrong with the Focus, dude.
Yeah.
I like how a Focus is a small car for you guys as well. That's amazing.
Well, I have a Ford.
Here, that's a family car. That's a big car.
I got a Ford Fiesta, the little one, the one just below that.
Fiesta's a small one. Yeah. That's getting there.
Reliable as hell in back, those things. The Fords in the last 5-6 years have been insanely great. So
I figure I play Hunter, I should use Focus, So
right?
Yeah.
I feel like that makes sense. Stick to the topic, damn it, because I think we should only drive cars that can be somehow tenuously linked into Warcraft.
Yeah,
that would be good.
I like that idea. What else? Are there others? There's I don't know.
There's no mana out there.
No, but there's the Accord. The 25-man team needs to be in accord with one another while fighting the boss. There, see, you got that. I can't think of anything else.
That works.
They don't have anything runes or runic power out there
anywhere. You could say, I've played a warrior. Warriors use rage. My car is considered by many to be an average card. So I think, it's not great. It's not bad. It's average.
Does anybody make an RNG? Nobody makes an RNG, right? That'd be cool.
An RNG.
Like a random number generator. That'd be cool.
No.
Can't think of one.
RNGO. Maybe you can get that.
RNGO,
that could work.
Yeah. But yes, I now have a car, which means I get to go places and do stuff that require, I can carry things. I went shopping.
Yeah,
it was amazing. I bought food for my house.
Amazing. I can live now.
Bag. Yeah.
Parking in San Francisco. Good luck with that.
In San Francisco sucks, but that's why I got the small car,
right.
the small family car.
Quote unquote.
Well,
okay, cool. Well, it's not like much happened this week.
No, there's really not much at all. Let's just launch into it and see if we can scrape something off the bottom of the barrel here.
Big news of the week.
All right, let's talk about the freaking cinematic.
We will never be slaves.
Oh, I'm not so sure about that, Gramash. Grom. Let's talk about...
that was what you yelled at, right?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now not remind me, but okay. So there was a little kerfuffle from me personally yesterday. I had it in my head that wasn't Garrosh helping him. I thought that was some other dude, and in my head, his name...
He's a dude.
His name was the name of Gramash's or Grom's freaking axe.
Gorhow.
Yeah, so I said, you guys, I said something, I don't remember now, something on Twitter like, hey, what do you think of Gorhow or Hellhowl or whatever the hell it is, helping out his good buddy, you know, like it was like some weird story.
In all fairness, Gorhow did help out Grom.
Yeah.
By, you know, my favourite tweet was score update, Gorhow 2, Pitlord 0. It's just... That's like
when they
Manaroth,
Pit Lord,
exactly. Manaroth, no matter which reality timeline he's in, he gets owned by that axe.
Both times.
And I loved that callback, and everyone did.
When he's standing in the flames and
exactly. You've got that exact same shot from Warcraft 3, where Grom's standing there after having, done the final blow. Yeah. And the difference this time though is Garrosh diving in and saving his dad.
Yeah. Elsewise, we'd have had the same result as the old one.
We'd had a very similar one potentially.
Similar, it would have been slightly different because he didn't drink the stuff, right? So
that's the whole thing. Is that, and I mean, I think firstly, like Gul'dan looked amazing.
Oh, incredible!
I mean,
what a dick though! What a dick!
Insane.
He's such a dick.
He's not
already
very slick,
corrupted. He's not. No, the thing
he's not very slick because when they asked him, what's this going to cost me, he could have been like, not much. It's fine. Just have a little bit. Don't worry about it.
Instead, he tells the truth.
Everything. Really? Well, I'm not going to have it now. So.
Connor, what you got to remember is that at that point, he already knew that he wasn't going to drink it.
Yeah.
They already had the siege engine. They already had the Iron Star. They already had, Garrosh standing by, ready to yell, no! Sort of thing,
So Turpster, was him asking that question, was that already changing?
Purely just for shits and giggles, I believe. I think he was just saying, what would this cost? And he's like, we will never be slaves, sort of thing.
They're filling in stuff that just didn't exist in that early lore, really. I mean,
it's
assumed.
In Rise of the Horde, if you read Rise of the Horde, you'll see how it happened first time around.
Yeah.
And the reality is that Gul'dan says, look, this will give us the strength we need to defeat our enemies, who at the time are the Draenor. And then from that, they go on to run through the Dark Portal and become the Legion's weapon.
Yeah.
Obviously none of that's going to happen anymore. Well, that's the cool thing. So it gets real wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff. Really, when you start
Back to the Future mode right now, where
it's weird because it's a different reality. That to me, I start wondering like, why does the Black Prince want to save our version of time when they can go along and there's another version of time? Like, surely it's just, why come to our one?
Time travel screws up everything. It just does.
But it's always a tricky thing. And I think, Blizzard needs to have some reason why that Iron Horde needs to come back to our Azeroth. And equally, our Azeroth, once the Alliance is formed and already strong, and the Horde equally is formed and strong, why not go just through the Dark Portal as it would have been and take, the human kingdoms down like the original Horde did? The Alliance of Lordaeron wouldn't have been formed at that point in time, so you just run through. You've already got Garrosh, who knows the geographic layout of the towns, and how to hit people, and he's got this advanced technology and stuff. It does get weird, and ultimately the reason is Blizzard wanted to bring back all of these cool characters. And it's like, Ner'zhul, we're going to meet Ner'zhul. He is the original Lich King.
Yeah.
What does this mean? Can we make a new Lich King from this expansion? Will that be our next expansion? Will we have a good Lich King versus a bad Lich King? Will we have Ner'zhul somehow get put into Bolvar's body? And, is that going to change something?
Yeah, I forget Bolvar's still hanging out up on the throne and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Do we want to have 2 orcish end bosses? Or, for the next one, are we going to have a dragon? Are we going to have the Lich King again? You know, what's going to be, where are they going to take the game from this?
Yeah.
And I think that it's so cool to see how
it can go it can go in 50 directions at this point. And I think that's their whole point.
The time thing opens up, though. It just allows them to really do anything.
Yeah. But also, it's got to be a little bit of a headache for them to figure out how to make it. I guess, though, when you talk about stories that involve time travel, you can't get too hung up on the details of how it actually works, right?
Right.
Like if you got too hung up on how did Kyle Reese spawn John Connor when he got sent back by John Connor, then you don't really even have the Terminator, right?
The Terminator stuff is so janky. So bad.
You just gotta say whatever.
It was destiny.
It's fine.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that's the cool thing, though, is time travel is clearly established in World of Warcraft. You know, there's a whole dragon flight.
That's true. Yeah, we've had time travel for a while.
Yeah.
It's always been there. So it's just kind of cool now that we don't have the aspects and the infinite dragonflight's doing its thing. It is kind of cool.
Yeah, Caverns of Time was interesting because that was more like a portal into history, but it wasn't a altered history. It was just, hey, we can go do the things and see the things that came before.
But at the same time, it was actually about fixing other people from meddling in history and ensuring that the history we remembered remained as it would.
Yeah.
Whereas now we're having people meddling in an alternate history that isn't affecting our history, but is going to affect our present. Yeah. And that's where it gets a bit weird.
Yeah.
It's not alternate until he goes in and does stuff. Now, all of a sudden, we've split off into a different timeline because this didn't happen the way it originally
Exactly.
happened.
And so it looks like it's 35 years in the past. And then it's Grom had enough time to get to know Garrosh for them to build new technology to be able to then defeat Manaroth and not drink the blood. But then they're also constructing the Dark Portal, so they're getting that ready.
Plus, didn't he bring that big ball that you have to fight in the curtain garage fight?
That he taught them how to make that.
That's an Iron Star. Yeah, so that they get
stuff they didn't know how to make before.
That thing is badass and in cinematic glory, man. Holy crap!
It's very cool, and it's really fun to see how they all relate. And I mean, firstly, Grom Hellscream with pierced teeth, like tusks.
Yeah.
Man, that makes my teeth hurt just seeing it.
And he is so different than the old Grom and the old cinematics in Warcraft 3. It's just so much more animalistic, so much more. The detail and the intensity of this entire intro is kind of beyond anything they've done.
Insane.
And it's not even all that violent compared to other stuff, but it feels so much more.
Well, there's a lot of impact to the blows.
Yeah, just so intense, and some of the just little nuances, like when he turns to Gul'dan and says, what do we lose, or if I drink this or whatever. There's a couple of moments where his face just kind of tightens and twitches. It's real small stuff, but it so speaks to how far they've come and how artistically they've surmounted this technology and made it look so amazing. I mean, nobody's doing this. Nobody. No. Sure, you can say, Blur Studios and all these other guys, but nobody in-house is doing their own games the way they're doing their cinematics. It's not even a competition.
What I would love to know is how long did this actually take? At what point do they agree that this is the story? This is what's going to happen? Because, were they making this at BlizzCon last year? Did they start then? Did they start earlier? Are they already now working on expansion 6? How does it all fit together?
Yeah.
It's truly amazing to know how long this takes. I mean, this is a good 3.5 minutes worth of cinematic quality.
It's amazingly done.
And it's just, I would love to see a feature-length one of this.
Oh, my
God.
I don't know
here's the thing. How could they do it? Yeah, I've seen so many people say, why don't they just make a movie of this? And we've said it here, but when you really start to think about how much goes into just like 3.5 minutes, now we're talking 90 minutes of that. And that's like a 10-year project,
Well, according to, so here's this, I'm trying to make it so this video doesn't play. Hold on a second. Okay, there we go. Don't play. So according to GameSpot.com, they say it takes a year.
Okay.
And now if it takes a year and they just launched this, then they predated BlizzCon by, 3 or 4 months when they started this thing. So to answer your question, Turpster, it sounds like they had these core story elements in place well before they started.
I think they knew this story, right? At least kind of, and then maybe like they fill in some details. But this event here, this was the beginning. So this was known a while ago. So yeah, a year ago makes total sense.
Yeah.
This being the like initial moment that kind of swings everything. That had to be known, and then it sets off a bunch of other stuff into motion. But I just want to point out one other thing too about these Blizzard cinematics and stuff, and just the world of Warcraft here is that orcs are my favorite, but orcs in WoW are so much different than orcs in any other genre or like canon or whatever. Like where
like fantasy
orcs
world,
are not just dumb brutes, they're intelligent and they plan things out, and they have like they're articulate, and
they may be kind of savage and warlike, but they're nuanced,
savage, but they're an intelligent species that has a goal and everything. They're not just you look at orcs and other stuff, and they're just these big dumb whatever, and you just let's make an army of these and send them out and do whatever. And here they're like characters really matter, and you've got good orcs and bad orcs, and it's awesome.
It's interesting as from a story perspective in this thing. It's definitely presented in a way that kind of sets up these two a little more heroically than you would. And I think actually that's why I was a little confused as to whether that was
on your side for a moment.
Yeah, for a second you're like, wow, yeah, that was kind of badass. And the way that ended with Thrall and him in Warcraft 3 was kind of a heartbreaker. So when you see him kind of break free of that, that's all you are filled a little bit with, all right, I'm kind of behind these guys, but then you kind of forget. And this was confirmed by Tom Chilton at Gamescom, and spoiler alert, but Grom is the boss, the final boss in this game.
Oh, yeah, spoiler alert, yeah. Anybody who doesn't want spoilers, by the way, why are you listening to
what are you doing? This show's not for you.
We're going to spoil everything right now.
Yeah, may as well just know that. But it's going to be him. So he will be, for whatever reason. But here's what I suspect is going to happen. Or this is, maybe now that I know he's the boss, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, yeah, knowing that means you can kind of guess on what the turn of events is.
Kind of, but in Turpster, you tell me if you think I'm wrong. But Blizzard likes not stereotype storylines, but they like storylines that resonate with people, that they've felt it before or seen it before in other forms, and they like to make those moments kind of epic. But it wouldn't surprise me if this thing, the way Arthas ended, which was he's the ultimate evil until you strike him down, and now he's Darth Vader. He's kind of having a redemptive moment at the end, right? I see something similar happening when or with Grom and Garrosh, where he thinks his son is all on his side, and then at some point realizes, man, he's swung too far and has brought me into a situation that isn't going to get our goals. I see what horrible thing is happening over here. There's a spark of some good in him, and meaning in Grom, and there's going to be some sort of sacrifice, or Garrosh is going to end up dying, or something weird's going to happen in that way. We're going to end up with like a father-son bittersweet parable thing at the end of this thing.
Well, but in reverse, like, so you're saying Grom is going to take the bullet basically to try to save Garrosh?
Yes, or he will see that his son is just a mess, and that this is all gone wrong.
I could see that. Like, he steps.
But why
in
are we kicking his ass?
Well, that's
boss.
my point. This changes my thinking a little, knowing that he's the end boss. So if that's the case,
again, my hope is that he is ultimately doomed to repeat the mistakes. Like it's Gul'dan says about this is our destiny, and then Marty McFly goes, well, time's about to change, and I think that it could. My hope is, at least, is that actually destiny is destiny, and that Grom is always meant to fall to corruption. And it was Thrall who gave him that opportunity to redeem himself. And I don't know. I kind of like the idea that he falls to corruption somehow, be it an old god, because God knows we love them, or again, hopefully, maybe the Legion, because I would love the next expansion to be the Legion returning, and for us to have that big demonic battle.
I'm kind of into that too.
And so, like, if he were to fall and become some super fell orc, this hulking green monstrosity that we then put down, and he doesn't get a chance to redeem himself, and that kind of Garrosh robs him of that redemption story because he doesn't allow him to follow his path and make his own mistakes. I would love something like that, and I can see that.
how about a Final Destination style thing where he was supposed to die, but he didn't die, so now like iron stars are like turning on automatically around him and trying to kill him, and
his wyvern runs into a wall.
Falling.
Sure, sure,
exactly.
Big. They're trying to build a portal, but just a big brick falls off the top. He's like, and he barely gets away over and over. Yeah.
I am into this.
That could be good.
Yeah,
that could be
that's
good.
not bad.
I think all of those things. It's exciting to see, and it's exciting to kind of pitch that story up there. But there was no doubt that during that mini BlizzCon, it felt like yesterday.
It really did, yeah.
That everyone was just captivated by that cinematic and just felt like, okay, November 13th. Cool.
Yeah.
Can we have it now?
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll have to see what happens.
Oh, the music's insane. The music is so good. We got to get Russell on here and just talk about that damn music because they're just nailing it. I mean, here's to be
honest with you, I don't know. I felt like that Lords of War had even better sound.
Yeah, that was
music because it was, and I don't know if it's just because the animation was restricted to be more sort of simple scratches
stylistic
and
tweens.
That you kind of notice it more.
Yeah. I loved that.
Okay,
oh
so
man,
where does this one fall into all the cinematics? Where do you think this one?
If you had to compare them all,
I think it's near the top. I think it might be. It might be.
It's
the best
right
one.
up there. I'm a big.
So Arthas has always been my kind of favorite one. That whole Arthas cinematic with just It
was very abstract,
Dad
right?
chatting in the background.
Yeah,
but I liked it. I
like that a lot. That parable of the sun rising to glory and having it go the opposite, but still be the thing his dad had predicted about his son is really powerful stuff. So I agree that one's pretty good. But if I had to put them all up next to each other, I really, really like Burning Crusades. I always have. I would put Burning Crusade, this, and probably the Mist one up there in the top
like Mist,
3.
But Mist, now I think if you watch Mist, it does come across so much campier.
It is
for sure, no question.
Comfy and it's
and the thing is, it's like it could have, they could have camped at this one and literally had like when the axe goes into Manoros' head, just a little thing comes up and it goes ding 2-0. There would have been ways to inject humor, but obviously they didn't because they wanted to keep it as this.
This is a much darker story.
Very self-serious. Yeah.
This
question.
This is where it's at, and it does set these guys up as menacing, but not nemesis.
No. It's very. I'll tell you. I'll
them as a threat, but not as a. They want to come kick our asses. It's
I agree with that.
Okay,
I agree with that.
Come try it.
I think what's really striking is how risky this is, because this is something we're all appreciating on all kinds of levels because we get it. But this is not a mainstream thing. If you watch this cinematic as a just somebody, you're not going, oh yeah, I know him and him and him, or I get this old story from Warcraft 3, or I get now the Divergent timeline. You're not thinking about any of that. You're just seeing it for what it is. And what it is a bunch of angry, orky dudes killing things. And I think it's risky, and I'm really glad they took the risk. Because this is what I want. I want them to not always go with, well, it's clear, Arthas, the Lich King, well, that guy is totally, he's Darth Vader in this world. I get that. I understand that. Or this giant dragon, that seems bad. He's destroying everything. I get it. We got to stop him. Those things all make sense to a very wide mainstream audience. This is like all up in the Blizzard butthole. You know what I mean? Like nobody's grandma's watching this and going, oh yeah, this is the universal story. It's not. It's dangerous and it's risky, and I love it. So I think that probably puts it at the top for me because, yes, the animation's incredible, and yes, the techniques are amazing. And I mean, if I'm going to actually tell you my favorite Blizzard cinematic of all time, it's the fall of Tyrael, that moment where they're at the gravesite of Dagger King. That particular chunk of stuff is my favorite thing they've ever done. But if I'm doing the Blizzard ones, this is probably it. If I'm going to boil it all down and get honest, because it's that risk taking in the story that makes me like it all the more. And on the technical end, yeah, it's incredible, amazing technical achievement. But from a story perspective, and them being willing to say we are going to get down to the bone of what we do, they haven't really done that in a while. And this feels like, people get pandas, they get dragons, and they get Darth Vader, but they don't necessarily get this. And To me, that seems
Yeah,
like a
and
risk that'll pay off.
when you see Manroth come out the first time, if you don't really know, if you're not a WoW lore person, then you're probably like, oh, what? Big guy? Okay.
Yeah, they don't know.
And you don't really understand why he's there and what. So why is drinking his blood do anything, or what is that?
Yeah.
They don't even say that it's his blood, and I don't know. It's just it's a little, I guess you could say, esoteric to people who don't pay attention to all the stuff. But
Yeah.
for us, we know all this story because we, kind of have to, but also because we're into it.
Yeah.
And it felt like one of those really satisfying moments where all the stuff kind of comes together and it's all explained right then and there, and you get it, and you see it, and you get it. Plus, there was big sweeping moments in this one, a Grom flying through the explosion to actually put the axe in the head. Like, that was so amazing. And then, of course, when you see the Dark Portal being built at the end, it's like,
no, that,
oh my God,
that
the
was
excitement was just
such a moment, dude. Because you see
Yeah.
that thing and you go, I've seen that thing a billion times. You don't really think of it in that way of the scale and the
You've always
massiveness
seen
of
it completed,
Right.
And
It's
now
always
you're
been
seeing
done.
it.
This is like the half-built Death Star you saw in trailers for the Return of the Jedi when you were a kid, and you were like, "Oh my gosh, dude, they're making a new Death Star." It's like that feeling, and then the sense that it's just massive, and this huge, detailed, ornate thing. I mean, all those things are just such great details, and holy schmack! I mean, whatever. People.
If I wasn't excited, wow.
Yeah. And how many people are like, "Oh, this is not what the game looks like. Why are you so excited?" People are missing the point.
But even then, if you want to see how good the game looks now, watch the Lords of War opening episode.
Yeah.
And the cinematic team using in-game assets do this amazing
that was
intro.
awesome. That was awesome.
With Varian and Vlad, and it's just like it's so cool.
Yeah.
And it just reeks of epicness, but yet I would hope was quicker to make than that cinematic.
I would hope so, because I want more of it.
Exactly, and it's that
Well,
sort
it
of thing
is,
where
right?
this is a sustainable way to give us Blizzard's story that has the epicness and the great voice and the music and the visuals and everything on a more frequent basis.
Yeah. And they have this great way of the whole Rise of the Shattered Hand, just so.
Yeah, that was awesome. Well, they're going to show us like how all of these warlords kind of come about as being where they were.
But even then,
guess
I think the
yeah.
original story I thought for the Shattered Hand was that they were slaves in mines and that they were chained up in the mines working the rock, mining away, and that they then chopped off their hands to escape. I didn't know it was a gladiatorial thing. It may be a change.
Really
It may be just that I didn't pay attention.
If it's a change, it's a good
one.
one.
I really like it.
And not even that they chopped their hands off; they smashed their hands with rocks.
Yeah, just destroyed them. It literally shattered their hands. Like,
oh my God!
I know,
So
dude.
Yeah.
It was intense, and the art is insane. I think it's the same. I can't remember her name, but I interviewed her on the show. I should remember this. But she did the art for the Hearthstone.
Gust came along and blew the Monkey King away.
Oh wait, yeah, that whole thing.
Yeah, that guy.
Plus
Yeah.
the Hearthstone. Everyone's gathered around the box art.
Yeah, Burdens of Showerhow.
She's amazing.
Showerhow.
And if this is her again, I wouldn't be surprised. It's just incredible work. But yeah, I'm as excited about that as I have been anything. I'm glad that the Showerhow thing worked out, because clearly this is on the tail of that. That was an experiment to see if people would be interested in this little extra thing. And
it got millions and millions and millions of views on YouTube. And
It's a great way to get the lore across to people without, because nobody really reads. Well, some people do, but not everybody. I would say a large percentage of players don't read all the quest text and stuff. Don't know.
What would be better though is to put this in the game.
Yeah,
You know, to have a quest where it's like, because in the opening quest experience, spoilers, you go in an arena where Kargath is like, you have to kill 100 orcs, otherwise you're not getting out of here.
Yeah.
And, fortunately you've got like, a team of badasses featuring like Thrall and just the dream team.
Yeah.
And
I have Henry, so F it.
But then exactly, but you he still tries to kill you anyway, but you kind of run away, cause a cave in behind you. But it's funny to see how he, after being subject to that, looks to subject you to it. And it's really cool to have that perspective on these guys that you are facing and how it is. The only shame is obviously because of the level of quality and production that's gone into this, there's only 4.
Yeah.
And I would love to have all of the warlords displayed and defined in this way, but instead they've gone for Kargath because, let's face it, he's really cool.
Yeah, he's badass.
Grommash because Grom's the big boss. Duratan because it's Thrall's dad. We want to find out about him and his wife and how they interact and why he is different from the other warlords.
Yeah.
And then I think the last one was it Ner'zhul? Or was
Ner'zhul.
it, yeah. And so Ner'zhul obviously
No. Is it? Wait.
Oh, is it? Who's in the
I forgot now.
the teaser? They go through it all in the teaser.
Yeah.
But
damn it. We'll have to maybe the chat room knows. I can't remember.
oh, it was Kilgarth, Black Eye, what Kilrog?
Oh, Kilrog, right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Deadeye. And so he as well is a kind of a shaman warlock hybridy type person. And you get the Eye of Kilrog is a warlock spell, and he's a shaman who dabbles more in that demonic art. And Kilrog and Gul'dan and Azul are all of these sort of more shadowy orcs. And then you've got the more brutal, visceral, Kargath and Gromash. And I think, it's going to be really exciting to see how all these episodes kind of go on and continue.
Yeah.
And I would love to see it like a second season.
Oh, dude. Totally into it.
That'd be amazing.
Totally into it. They're nailing it. Now, quick, I just want to address this point before we move on. A lot of criticism out there from, a bunch of Alliance, really. That there is zero Alliance, which I would argue, well, all right, well, this is 35 years earlier. There was no Alliance. And also they're on a planet where the Alliance doesn't exist. Well, then they say, well, what about the Draenor? Well, they're currently enslaved and being treated pretty badly, and I suppose they could have had something to do with this intro, but they're not there either, and people have a problem with that. Some have said, hey, there are gnomes in it. They're just skulls wrapped around the neck of Gul'dan, which is possible. But the biggest complaint has been that, hey, didn't Metzen get up at BlizzCon and say this next expansion is an Alliance expansion? I can see their point here.
He also said you're not going to fight just an orc. It's not just the end boss isn't going to be just another orc.
Yeah,
and it's because Grom isn't just another orc.
Yeah,
He is a big deal. Like, he's the guy who freed them from their bloodlust and their corruption. But at the same time, people want to have some variety or perceived variety. And I think that actually now that Chilton's come out saying that Grom's going to be the nemesis, they almost want to start kind of, without ruining the story, kind of giving some hint as to how it's going to be different to Garrosh. Is he not going to have 3 phases in which the last one he's some big hulking corrupted monstrosity, and at the end of it, Jaina's going to talk about dismantling the Iron Horde, and Varian's going to say, actually, good call, Jaina. I like that. That's a good shout. Let's do that.
Yeah.
And then suddenly a big infernal crashes in, and the Legion's here.
Yeah.
How is it going to be something more?
Hopefully, Anduin turns into a corrupted mass of flesh, and they have to fight Anduin.
Yeah, I don't think they could ever corrupt Anduin. I think he's the uncorruptible.
Hello, everyone.
Golden child.
Hello.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe whatever, but their point, I think, is taken. I think there's something to the idea, at least so far, until we see all these details. This feels like a very Horde-y expansion.
It does now, but we don't know. I mean,
we really don't know. But
Yeah.
but if this is what you present, it feels very Horde-y.
Yeah.
Alongside this cinematic, they also put together a in-game kind of highlight showing like Frostfire Ridge, showing like the Nagrand, showing all of these different zones, and they all look amazing.
It looks great.
They are all phenomenal. They talked a little bit about Ashran,
Yeah.
this PvP zone where you can loot
You can
players,
loot the players. Oh
that
my god!
kill.
Thank you.
Like, that is huge.
Yeah, you looking
Yeah.
forward to
That
that,
is
dude?
Not just gonna
absolutely
get 30
massive.
copper. I'm gonna get stuff that matters.
It's like, and the thing is, and equally, like, if you are going to the vendor and you have saved up all of your things,
Yeah.
that journey to that vendor is gonna be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, how are you gonna survive? You're gonna have to get your guild in. Be like, guys, I'm gonna go get the mount. It's like 20,000 of these things. You need to have my back, okay? Or if that guy kills me, we need to kill him, and I need to loot him because I need that. I mean,
That's
it
pretty
changes.
exciting.
It's one of the most hardcore things that Blizzard's ever done.
Yep.
And it's, for people talking about, a casual game, this is something that is very much not casual.
Yeah.
The other cool thing in that whole panorama is there's this great bit of Rexxar kind of dangling a orc, I assume some grey orcs, over a fire pit. And it's just cool to think Rexxar's going to feature more in this. And I hope that, through Hearthstone, people are more aware of who Rexxar is, and they're more aware of who Gul'dan is, and that they understand that these are characters. He's a warlock, he's a hunter, and I think it'd be really cool to explore those characters more in the game.
Yeah,
and just seeing all the zones. Equally, the Skyreach dungeon looks really cool.
Yeah, that looked really neat. Yep.
And these uncorrupted ones and how that's all going to work.
All the rest of that stuff looked okay, all the dungeons, but that one really jumped out. Yeah.
Like the Grimrail Depot, a train fight, a whole
you're on a train.
On a train.
That reminds me of Unreal Tournament. They did that in there.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
It's pretty neat.
It's like the Deathwing fight on crack.
Yeah.
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, whoever came up with the idea for that, of having this sort of moving gauntlet and you're running down this train, I just think that's so, I cannot wait for that.
That looked pretty neat. They also announced at that deal that there will be this special level 90 version of Upper Blackrock Spire for a limited time. So you'll be able to go in there and get level appropriate loot. And then that thing will be pushed to a level 100 later. Yeah, it's like a tease. Now, I didn't understand if that was pre-expansion or post.
So pre-expansion, they're opening up Ubers, the first half of it, to be available at level 90. So we won't take on Warlord Zekla or whatever her name is.
Yeah.
The one we killed or defeated in Siege of Orgrimmar.
Right.
But we will play through some of that content up towards her. Yeah. And then, as is how I understand it, so everything pinch of salt. But equally, at the same time, we're going to have that first incursion from the Iron Horde coming through the portal. And that's where we, as one of the heroes of the Horde and Alliance, get sent to the Blasted Lands to find out what the heck's going on.
Yeah.
And that will then lead into, once the expansion is released, that suicide quest where we go in, we shut down the Dark Portal, we encounter each of the warlords and kind of get to know them. And then we go to our faction starting zone, establish our garrison, start building our force, level up in strength, level our garrison up in strength, get our army together, and then take the fight to Grom. And I think that's going to be such an exciting, cool.
It's a great storyline to be living on. It really is.
It's going to be good.
Yeah, it's so much more than just here's some stuff, go kill it.
Yeah, but it's actually you're building towards a final encounter for the entire time rather than just, well, you fight this guy and then now we're going to fight this guy.
And literally,
it's the big bad guy.
And they've always done it kind of like that, like sort of. There's references to, there's a greater thing happening, but we're not there yet. But you're right. In this case, every second of the time you spend from 9100 is all leading to something. And that's if they can integrate that as tightly as it feels like they're going to, that'll be a nice revelation, I think, for this game. For the expansion. Also, this is just a note, the pre-expansion stuff, the event stuff leading up to it will involve the Iron Horde coming through the portal and taking over the Blasted Lands, which is some of what Turpster was talking about. But you'll be able to see that, to interact with that, to deal with that. So it sounds like we will be getting a pre-launch event of some sort. And how we don't know. I mean, the game comes out the Thursday after BlizzCon.
Yeah, which is actually okay. So let's talk about that real quick.
Yeah,
are you happy that it's coming out so soon on the heels of BlizzCon, or is it?
No,
I would like a little bit of time.
Yeah, Turpster will be on a plane, so his reasons are very selfish.
Well, here's why I feel a little bit. It's too soon because I got to take some time off, go to BlizzCon. I get really excited. Then you've got your kind of post-BlizzCon settle down moment, and then all of a sudden the game.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel like I'm going to want more time off, and I'm going to want to be able to sit around and just play.
Yeah, and likely if we all end up with the press passes we usually get, we'll end up being upstairs playing a lot of it anyway. So it's like, well, yeah, no, I kind of agree.
Well, in all fairness, we would already played a lot through the beta.
Yeah,
and I mean,
that's true.
I think that the other reality is that there's 30,000 people go to BlizzCon.
Yeah.
And then, they've already sold 1.5 million copies of this expansion.
Yeah.
So obviously the percentage of people affected by this are us, the hardcore Blizzard themselves, and that's about it.
True.
So
and that's going to be the height of the excitement. So
exactly, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be amazing to see. In the first raids, I think we get to face off against Blackhand, the big iron schmelty guy in the Blackrock Foundry.
That guy's great.
And then I think we face off against Kargeth Bladefist as well at Heimel. I think he's in the big Ogre Arena instance. So I think all of those things could be really fun and exciting to kind of face off against. But as with all WoW launches, we won't have raid content for a little while.
Yeah.
You know, we'll be leveling up. We'll be trying to race to the cap. But I still don't quite know how I'm going to play it in terms of, you know, am I going to go, you know, heavy into quests, or am I going to try and rush up and try and get into that PvP zone? Ashran sounds so much more
I really
exciting
want to get in there, yeah.
than,
all right,
than
you guys, should we
any
make
of
a
the
bet?
PvP stuff.
Yeah, let's make a
For
bet.
the level 100? Let's make a bet.
Let's make a bet here.
Okay.
I won last time. I'd like to remind everybody.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Wow.
That was last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. If anything, that means that it's less likely you're going to win this time. You cashed in a lot of your
Okay. If I'm gonna throw the prediction out.
What should we throw out there? What should the losers have to pay?
Yeah, there is no prediction. We all want to win this. So let's see.
Does this have to happen on US servers?
No.
No. Just
no. Just in general.
100.
You
Yeah.
show us your 100.
I could though. I think I might actually. I think I might try and do it on US first.
Okay.
Yeah?
I did 90 on US first. And,
How about this though? Instead of us coming up with it right now, why don't we have people email us ideas or tweet at us ideas?
I like that.
Okay.
And then
I
we'll
like
see
what
who
the
comes up with something
forfeits
good.
should
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
it. Dills is on the money there. I think that's a good
All right.
idea. So
you
we'll
guys
see
let
how
us
that
know
goes.
what you think the losers should have to pay up to the winner, and we'll race to 100
All
when it
right.
comes out.
For the race to 100, we'll call it. We'll make an official webpage for it. We'll go crazy.
All right.
Tom Chilton also
Speaking
said,
of which,
yeah,
Race to World First.
Yeah.
They're doing another one.
it's
Really?
they are.
And we weren't
Are they
asked
calling it
to
Race
do-
to World Second? That's what they really
Well, I
should
don't
call
know.
it.
I don't know.
Are they
I
doing
think-
another one? Where'd you read this?
On MMO Champion, they had it up free to watch.
The
and
one
I
we're
think
in.
it said that they were going to do another one. Yeah.
Oh, well, they were. I'll have to look at that. I talked to the guy that made that film and put us in it. I talk to him all the time. His name is John. And they were working on a big StarCraft thing, which I was in last
it's
year. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe MMO Champion's just unaware. But that's curious. If it is a WoW one, I have not heard that. That's crazy.
But I think it's because it's funny because they had it up on there, so I pressed play, and it was just again just hearing like Deals and me just like excited to be here, and it's just thinking like, oh, man, that conversation never happened.
no, it was all
it did
separate.
not.
It says here. So it was posted up on the 8th of October of August, even sorry.
Yeah.
And said, the 10th even sorry of August. It says race to world first with the next race coming this fall.
Oh, they just
Race
mean
to
the
World
next
First
actual race.
documentary
They mean the actual
is
race
once
to
again
world
free
first.
to watch. Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I think they just mean, hey, we're all back into racing for world first again. So to celebrate, they put the film up for free. I think that's all that is.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was hoping they were doing another one.
Yeah, if you guys
And I
want
was
to watch
hoping
that, you
it
should.
was so
It's
bad, but
we had fun doing it. We're sort of in it.
it might be finished now.
It is funny. It's some of it is us in the same Skype chat room thing, but some of it isn't. But I don't know if anyone can tell. I mean, we know, but
Yeah, it seems fairly natural. You know? As natural
something
as it
like
could
that.
be.
Yeah,
I remember they told me, they were like, act like you're on the show when you're talking.
Yeah.
So I was trying to, so basically it was T, so they're gonna do this, and like, it was very strange.
Yeah, it was an odd experience, but anyway, it's up for free.
Came out good though.
Glad you mentioned that. Let's see, real quick, the collector's editions are up for pre-sale right now. What is in there is this: Warlords of Draenor, of course, on DVD, which you can install from that or your digital copy, whatever. Behind the scenes DVD and Blu-ray 2-disc set, as always. Collector's edition soundtrack, Art of Warlords of Draenor, Black Hand mousepad, epic in-game content, which includes what do we got here? You got the hatchling pet and the Dread Raven mount. Among other things, of course, you get and you get the typical StarCraft portraits, Diablo 3, and the Hearthstone card pack. You know what? There's not a. I'm kind of. This isn't. I don't know if this is so much a criticism, but it just seems like the CEs are pretty much the same template every time. We're not really getting anything too new in these things.
Yeah, but firstly, if they change the box, I would go and stab someone at Blizzard because I have the other 5.
Yeah.
And if they make it different to the point where on my shelf things don't match up, that's a big no-no.
Yeah.
That's a big no-no. It's
Yeah.
a collector's edition. It's for collectors.
Yeah.
We want them to be the same.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of in-game content, we're getting a mount and a pet, which is what we've had for the past few. I like that. And it's nice that we're getting Hearthstone card backs as well, because the problem with the season card backs is everyone has them, and the legendary card back is really, really hard to get. So it would be nice to have something that's a little bit different, and you can kind of settle on being slightly unique.
Mm-hmm.
I like I said, I personally love the collector's editions. I always think they're great. The behind the scenes DVD is worth it alone.
Always good. Yeah.
The soundtrack is just brilliant, and
also,
it just lives in my car.
Blu-ray version of the freaking intro is just is worth the whole thing. So it's rad. Like there's
it's great,
like.
and I think it's one of those things that if you have, I think it's $90. Burning a hole in your pocket, it's great.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could get the game and a bit of game time. That could be a better use of money. But I think it's one of those things, if you love World of Warcraft to the point where you listen to a podcast about it, you're probably the sort of person who's going to buy the collector's edition.
Yeah.
And it's more of the same.
Quick note.
I have been annoyed in the past, like the mouse pads haven't been that great.
They're okay. A little thin, a little flimsy.
They're not, they just don't feel like they're good mouse pads.
Yeah.
And maybe it's because they're like, no one uses them, they're just a thing.
Yeah.
In which case, should it be in there? Could you put more money and time into making like something else, like a small custom figurine or something else?
I mean, I appreciate a good mouse pad, so I wish they'd just improve it.
It would be nice. And they have fantastic hardware partners. Like SteelSeries, I have some SteelSeries World of Warcraft themed mouse pads, and they're amazing.
Those guys are great.
But they're not the ones that they put in.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But they're not the ones they put in the collector's edition.
Yeah.
So that's the only thing. And if it affects the price, then I would say, is it worth doing? Can you,
something
do
else.
It better?
Yeah.
I don't know. But
I just feel like they found their template and they don't really stray too much from it. Do we have any thoughts on the?
An interesting thing, though, just quickly before we move on from that, is it's being released on a Thursday, which is weird because it's always previously been Tuesdays.
It's always Tuesday,
for everything.
Yeah.
And Chilton said in an interview that Armistice Day is on the Tuesday of the release week, which is why they went with Thursday instead of Tuesday.
Oh,
and I think that's really interesting. Like, Armistice Day, obviously it's 100 years anniversary of World War One this year, and World War Two obviously is it's commemorated on the 11th of November, which would be the Tuesday.
Right.
And I wonder if Warlords being Warcraft Warlords on the day is just too no.
I think it's two reasons. One, that's a good excuse, and two, they're just getting done with BlizzCon and they could use the extra week. That's what I think.
It's a shame though they didn't wait a month just so that they could have had 12, 13, 14 as the release date.
Yeah.
I would imagine someone saying, "Look, guys, it's a month. We get a really cool release date."
Well, somebody else has that though. Who is it? Someone's barking that like crazy. It may be Call of Duty or something. Another Activision release. I'm not sure. I think somebody though is doing that. Do you guys have any thoughts on these new trolls? What do you think there? I think the ladies look a billion times better, and the males look the same.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if anything, the males look slightly less pointy, which for me is just a little bit weird. I kind of they're slightly more rounded. And I think with all the updates, as they've got more polygons, obviously they've been able to create more surfaces that are slightly more organic and more natural.
Yeah.
But I don't know necessarily if they look as good as the old ones. Visually, yes, they're higher quality, but I kind of like the old troll pointy nose. The new one has more of a round schnoz and less of a kind of
they rounded all the edges a little bit, but I don't know, they're fine. It's whatever.
Yeah, no big deal.
You can see the polygon improvements for sure, but at this point I'm getting a little bit I don't know, maybe I've just seen all of the improvements, so I'm like, yeah, there it is. There it is.
Yep.
The improvement.
Yeah. This is the least drastic of all of them to me. This one just is sort of what it is. The females are a huge improvement, but the males, I mean, maybe that speaks to the males were already pretty cool, so
yeah, they didn't really, there was no stylistic change here. It was really just update the shading and the polygons, and pretty much that's it.
Yeah. And that's fine, And if we don't I would have, I guess whatever. Yeah, seeing them in action in the beta has been good, and yes, I'm excited about those. But the more I see all this other stuff coming out, zone previews and the cinematic and everything else, the less that is at the forefront of my mind as one of the huge features of the game. It's a big deal, but it's on par with new characters or something. It's kind of like that.
We know about all this stuff already, but I mean, there's some other stuff. There's like little teeth in the bikini bottoms now for the ladies, and there's
right,
and for the men.
And for the men? Oh,
yeah,
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking at the men bikini.
There's a lot of equality going on in the troll society there. Yeah.
There we go.
All the men are hunched over. All the women are standing up straight. So that's the only difference in their society. Otherwise, equal time for everybody.
Weird. What's up with that? How come the women aren't hunched over?
I don't know. They do that with all the races. The females are much more refined in that way.
They have to be slightly more, traditionally attractive.
Yeah, I guess. Because we're all dudes playing this game, and even though there are a ton of women playing this game, the dudes are are a bunch of sexist guys who like to look at butts while they run. That's the deal.
I mean, the weird thing though is like troll women feet. If you look at their feet, they've got toenails on their heels.
Yeah, they do.
And it's stuff like, you know,
weird.
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
That's a little weird.
But then, you know, yeah.
I don't mean that from an art perspective is fine, but just the idea of a creature.
Yeah, I mean, they've
toenail in
basically
the back.
got
Ugh.
2 toes or 3 toes. That's what I don't know.
Back
I don't know
toe,
how many
yeah.
toes. Yeah, the back toe.
Don't ever get scraped by the back toe. There's real trouble there. All right, it's time to let's do these right here.
Hear ye, hear ye.
Why, it's the town crier.
Town Crier today, brought to you by DoghouseSystems.com. Go check them out at DoghouseSystems.com. Get a fantastic new gaming rig before this expansion comes out and play it the way it was supposed to be played, which is rad and looking awesome and no, don't compromise, man. Get the best there is. Use Henry at checkout and get double the memory. Also check out their Blizzard editions. Those are pretty rad too. You can always call us 206-202-3969. That's 206-202-3969 to leave us a message. We'll play it on the show. Keep it short and interesting. You can also send us emails at theinstance@gmail.com. Got a couple of calls here. Let's start with this one. Some thoughts on subs.
Hey guys, this is Vermont from the Emerald Dream server, and I'm just calling in regards to something that was mentioned on a few episodes ago about WoW never being able to reach its peak as it was before at 12 million around Cataclysm. Do you guys maybe think that the subscription model of the game is outdated or can't be used anymore? This is something I've thought of with the influx of all of these new games such as Hearthstone, Heroes of the Storm, and all the different MOBAs coming out that are free to play with different microtransactions. Just love to hear what you think about this. Love the show. All right,
Probably
bye.
Canadian there, Hearthstone. Anyway,
Hearthstone.
So yeah, I mean, this comes up all the time. I don't know that it's outdated. It's just, this game's 10 years old.
Well, this is quite timely because in the UK, and I don't know if it's happening in the US, but they're increasing the subscription cost.
Oh, wow.
So
no, I haven't heard this.
So for 30 days, currently it cost us £8.99. Now it's going to £9.99. And it kind of increases, for 180 days, it previously was £46.14. Now it's £52.14. And
it's probably because the dollar's weak against the pound right now. It's probably why.
Well, I think, it's a great way to make money. But at the same time, I think they've said we regularly look at our pricing around the world, and from time to time we make changes in light of local and regional market conditions. And it says, as such, we want to give everyone a heads up that we'll be shortly be adjusting the pound sterling subscription price for World of Warcraft. So it says, as a thank you for current World of Warcraft subscribers, we guarantee that players with recurring auto-renewing subscriptions at the time of the price change will retain their current price for 2 years as long as they remain in the same recurring subscription without interruption. So this implies to anyone who's already in or signs up for a recurring subscription prior to the price change. Yeah. So it's basically saying, look, guys, you got to jump on it now and you'll lock it in for 2 years, but you cannot unsub in those 2 years. Otherwise, you're going to cost an extra pound, an extra $15 a year, basically, cumulatively.
Sure.
And it's interesting, and it's a really strong statement for Blizzard to make and say, actually, this cost is important to us. It needs to be there, and it needs to be of value, and we need to actually get a certain amount of money per user for it all to work out.
Yeah.
So I think that
if they went free to play, though, I maintain, I'm not saying they should, and I generally agree with you on the value of the game and how this thing's set up as a subscription game makes it more valuable to me. But if they went free to play tomorrow, let's say, I guarantee they'd hit their 12 million again and more.
Yeah, they would, but they wouldn't replace all the money.
Nope.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's quality over quantity then. It's what we're going we're looking for paying active community members. On a free to play game, people log in 5 minutes and then never return. And that is your community, is made up of this transient audience.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you look at League of Legends, and League of Legends is fantastic, has a great community, a lot of the other MOBAs, but they're a very different playtime to World of Warcraft and an MMO.
Yeah.
They're games you play for 45 minutes in a lunch hour, not WoW where you log in at lunch hour and then you go home and log in for 3 more hours.
Some do, but the vast majority, that you're right, that's not who they are.
But so here's the other thing too, is that the numbers, the 12 million number and all that, the biggest fluctuation, like they've said, has been China, and you know, they don't even use a subscription model. They use paid time. Basically, you pay for, you buy like a card and it has 60 days or whatever, and then when it runs out, you got to buy a new card.
Yep.
And it's not even, so it's not a recurring subscription. So the biggest fluctuation has been a country that doesn't even use the subscription model in the first place.
Sure.
So is the subscription model the problem, or is it just that, you know, it's just natural ebb and flow of a game and how many people are going to play it?
Natural ebb and flow would be my vote.
I don't think that changing, and honestly, like you say, okay, if they go free to play, they would probably jump up to, you know, heights they've never seen before as far as total players playing at any given time.
Yeah.
But then how do you even count players at that point? Like, when was the last time they logged in? Are they, you know, you can count subscribers at this point. But if you are free to play, so if a guy logged in one time and just messed about and then left, wow, I said messed about there. Turpster rubs off on me. So no, but you know, like if how do you count them, and are they legit numbers? You know, they wouldn't really be anymore. So even if they did get to 15 million, you wouldn't really even be able to say these are actually 15 million people playing the game consistently, like you can say right now, the way the subscription works.
It's totally true. Yep. I don't know.
So,
it's a weird deal. You don't get back to your heyday with a game that's 10 years old unless I don't know what you do. I just don't see them ever getting there with subscription. And if they did free to play, they wouldn't make the money they make with subscription, and they may hit those numbers again. But if that's all your goal is, then what's the point? I don't know.
It's like 13 or 12 bucks average per person who's subscribed, you know, because of the people who do the 6-month and all that. Yeah. And you're talking replacing currently 6 point whatever million, 6.5 or 6.8 or whatever it is. You're talking about replacing that amount each month with microtransactions, and that is not going to happen.
I'm very curious to see where these people, you know, there's got to be data that is either predictable data or actual data that says when, you know, 6 million people have left the game, where did they go? Did they stop playing video games? Did they grow out of it? Are they 30 and have kids and cars and houses and they can't play anymore? Are they playing other MMOs? Is it some combination of that? And where did the percentages land? I'd be very curious about that.
Not to be morbid, but some of them are not alive anymore.
Some of them have died. Yeah. Some have moved on. But that was really morbid.
That's really morbid.
Well, I mean, you know, it's just the reality.
But that is. And I think it's going to be something that Blizzard thinks about.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think the most sensible answer to them is just to keep doing what they were doing, which is, you know, creating fun, innovative gameplay experiences. And I think that's what they need to keep going. And I think that so much of what we've seen kind of calls back to the glory days.
Right.
And it's like, you know, you played Warcraft 3, like everyone who loved World of Warcraft at the beginning had done. Well, come back to World of Warcraft because it's more Warcraft 3 stuff.
Yeah.
You know, if you played WoW back at the beginning, you know, we've got the anniversary stuff coming up. You know, we've got Molten Core, we've got a 200-man PvP, you know, Tor and Mill versus South Shore battles. You know, this is all amazing, crazy stuff. So I think people are going to really enjoy it.
Yeah. That's the
but
hope.
It's just them knowing about it and them being encouraged to return if they're in a position in which they can.
I got a thing here. A guy accuses Turpster of it. We held it over from last week, and it's about whether or not Turpster spoiled something or not.
Okay.
So here it is.
Hey, this is Levix. I play Paladin on Kill Jaden. And I just want to personally thank Turpster for ruining the book War Crimes for me. I'm about halfway through it. Blew my freaking mind. Thanks. Please don't do that. Later.
I'm very sorry. Very sorry.
It's so funny at the end.
It's that's fair enough. I'll appreciate that. I'm sorry.
Sure.
I got very excited. I could have been more vague, but I just I loved it. In my defense, it has been out a long time.
I'm gonna defend you right now, T, and I'm gonna say, it's been out a long time. You're listening to a podcast about World of Warcraft. Is Turpster the one spoiling this, or did you spoil it by going out and seeking out World of Warcraft content? may or may
at the
not
same
contain
time,
spoilers.
we could have made it clear. And I apologize because I love that book. I think it's great. I think you should finish reading it.
Yeah.
And let me know if your interpretation of anything changes from what I said.
Yeah.
He didn't tell you about the
yeah.
steamy sex scene at the end.
Right.
So.
Between
that's the thing.
Anduin
There is,
and Bane, right?
Yep.
There's some pretty steamy stuff that happens.
Mostly because Taurens are sweaty and hot. They get extra layers
Yeah,
of fur and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not because it's hot like sexy hot. It's because they're freaking hot.
Like it's actually steamy when they make love.
They're warm. We got an email here, and this one kind of takes us to task as well, or maybe Blizzard to task. It says, this is from Chris, Norin Rad on the Realm Magtheridon, who, by the way, everybody got confused with Manaroth yesterday. There's a lot of that going on Twitter. Anyway, good evening, fellas, he says. Yes, this was a beautiful cinematic. Yes, I play Alliance. Yes, I think Blizzard loves the Horde. Yes, as per this email subject, I think World of Warcraft is becoming too Horde-centric. I don't think this is an outrageous claim. Please give me your opinion on this. Best regards, Chris. We've kind of talked about it today, but I'm a giant Horde fan. I have always been a Horde fan, and I will die a Horde fan, but I think they kind of have a point, a little bit of a point and I don't mean that it's Blizzard screwing you. It's that the interesting bits on the periphery of this story are happening with lots of Horde stuff. I think that's just what it comes down to, and they're going to write to what's interesting. I don't blame Metzen or anybody else for doing that. That's what you do as a writer. You're not going to spend all your time with stuff that's not interesting. And I'm not saying that all the things happening with the Alliance are not interesting. But right now, they've established a universe where the interest is in the Horde side of things, the orky, savagey side of the world.
Yeah, but I gotta point out though that Arthas did not come from the Horde side, and that was pretty much the biggest story that we've ever had.
Right, and even his undead weren't forsaken. Like you're dealing with exactly. There are moments like even the whole Dragonflight stuff. The problem people had with that, not Dragonflight, but with Cataclysm, was that it was still very Thrall-centric. Lots of Thrall being the point of story. And that's where they're having trouble. It's not like you're getting, everyone gets their models updated for the in-game cinematics, except for freaking the leader of the Alliance with his big, dumb-looking scar. Although in this latest thing, he looked really good. But previous to this, like the Garrosh death bit, or not death, but your defeat of Garrosh, he just looks ridiculously bad compared to all these other awesome models. I just think it's not unreasonable to accept the fact that, yes, there appears to be a Horde bias when it comes to the creative side of the game. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's just what it is, and getting all taken sides on it.
Okay. If they concern themselves only with absolute fairness between Horde and Alliance and how much involvement does each side have in the storyline, then they do themselves a disservice by not just allowing them to freely create and put out content.
Make what they're going to make. Exactly. It's exactly how I feel. And this is why I side with George R. Martin on everybody saying he needs to write more gay characters and gay sex scenes into his books. And he said, no. I'm writing what I want to write.
I'm just going to write a damn book.
I'm writing a book.
Whatever it is.
I am all for gay rights, but gay rights does not include you telling George R. Martin how to jam more stuff in there any more than it does me telling you how to, I don't know, telling Martha Stewart how much sugar to put in her cookies. Just do what you're going to do. And they're going to do what they're going to do.
There becomes a certain time where if you're spending all your time worrying about this stuff, then basically you're missing out on opportunities to just be creative and let it flow. And I feel like what they're doing is they're being creative and they're letting it flow, and they're finding like what is actually getting the juices going when you're talking about stuff. What storylines are popping out as the ones that you want to pursue, and that's just how it's working out. And honestly, too, talking about things like the motorcycles, the bikes, and all that.
Yeah, that whole thing.
Oh my God, the Alliance. Well, Alliance, rock the vote, man. Get out there. You guys got to bring it. The Horde players are bringing it. The Alliance needs to bring it. You can't blame anybody but yourself on that kind of stuff.
No trophies for everyone.
I am all for. I have Alliance characters. I started as Alliance. I play Horde now. Yes, I don't hate the Alliance. Well, I do, but I don't hate the Alliance in a general sense.
Yeah.
I think that they're fine, and I think that there's very interesting stories to be had there, and they will eventually come out, and that will be great. And at that point, I'm not going to sit there and bitch and moan about how it's Alliance centric. It's just in vanilla, I didn't bitch and moan about it. and it was, and it's just whatever. It's the ebb and flow of this game. There's two sides. They're not all going to work.
Yep. Agreed.
Makes sense.
It does make sense. We got one last bit here, and here it is.
The drop of the week.
So Robin Williams, the famed actor and comedian, died last week. Was it now? No, this week. Sorry, it was Tuesday or Monday.
Yeah.
Really recent. Yeah.
He was an avid gamer and an avid World of Warcraft player. He was known for this. Talked about the game a lot, especially in its early goings. Was a big fan. Named his daughter after Princess Zelda in the Legend of Zelda series. Kind of a big proponent of video games from a guy who's pretty high up in a successful Hollywood type. And after he died earlier this week, it is well known. He was well known for his offbeat characters, devotion to on-stage, screen, and TV. Says this article on NPR. He was also known as an obsessive fan and shameless advocate for video games. Among the games he played was World of Warcraft. And upon the news of his death, fans began to petition the game's creators, Blizzard Entertainment, to memorialize him in the game. The petition grew, and when asked on Twitter, World of Warcraft technical game designer Chad Nervig said, "Yes, we're taking care of it." They'll do something. There'll be some sort of immortalization, thing in there, an NPC or a, who knows, memorial or something. Clearly, the dude had an impact on a lot of people. If you grew up at all with his movies or his comedy or his TV or anything, it'd be nice to see this. So
yeah, this is cool. I actually have a Robin Williams story. When I was a kid,
cool. Yeah.
I went to school with Bobby McFerrin's kids, and Bobby McFerrin and Robin Williams were really close, and we were at a Halloween party, and I was there just hanging out, and there was a guy, and I remember very clearly at the time thinking, this guy is hilarious, and he was wearing a ninja costume, and he had his face covered the whole time, and he was just hanging out and having a blast, and he hung out with the kids, he was hanging out with the parents, he was just being awesome, and it was very vivid. I was very little at the time. I think I was maybe like 6 or 7 years old, but very vivid how fun this guy. He was playing with us, chasing us around, and at the end of the party, he has to leave. He pulls off the mask, and it's Robin Williams, and he just says, "All right, guys, great hanging out with everybody. I'll see you. See you guys later," and just takes off.
Yeah.
And nobody knew it was him the whole time.
Yeah, it was Robin Williams the whole time.
It was just this hilarious ninja running around the party.
Bitch about all those Robin Williams films.
Wow. I mean, he's kind of known for stuff like that, It
was epic, yeah. And it's funny because living in San Francisco, he is a Bay Area guy, grew up here and stayed here. Even when he was, a big actor in LA and everything. So he's like a San Francisco legend as well. Yeah, and I don't think I have a single friend who hadn't had some interaction with him at some point in their life. Like he just was there. He was out there, and everybody ran into him.
Marin County area.
Well, he originally lived in Sea Heights in San Francisco, but he had recently moved out to Marin, which people do when they
get the hell out of the city. Sure.
Yeah, you got to get out of the city a little bit. But anyway, it's very sad for people who live here. It was just such a common thing for people to run into him and have him kind of bless their lives with a little fun moment.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what he did. He was just just a joy for everybody. And it was super sad, and it affected my city in quite a dramatic way. Everybody was really, really upset the next day. Yeah. And normally celebrity deaths don't really do much for me. I'm somewhat sad, but this one was very affecting and really sucked.
Yeah. Bad one this time around. And the whole circumstances behind it and all that stuff just made it hard. Yeah, he was big in Europe too. Yeah, like huge over there in the UK.
Massive. I mean, he's just
It's not like one of those things where it's like, oh, Steve Coogan, we kind of know him here, but he's huge in Europe. But he was like everywhere.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he was a
no offense to Steve Coogan, by the way. Steve Coogan's great.
No, exactly. But I think when you look at if you look at how for generations he hit everyone. He did the Disney films. He did. The fun Mrs. Doubtfire's,
right.
But then equally, did fantastic performances. I watched The Butler the other night.
Oh, right, he plays Eisenhower in that.
Yeah, exactly, and it's just like he obviously Good Will Hunting. Everyone talks about good.
Fisher King is still one of the greatest films I ever saw in my life.
He had such range and versatility, and I think that's fantastic to see. And I think. It's great that he's being remembered so fondly, and I think that's the greatest testament to the man. Is just how happily he will be remembered by so many.
Yeah,
and I think that's if there's one thing we can all hope for, it's that.
He would have been fun
So
to
I
raid
think-
with.
yeah.
That would have been good.
Wow,
Oh, man.
exactly.
Just
Yeah,
imagine
having
that
him
team speak or mumble.
Exactly on Vent, you'd just be like him going away. You'd feel like you were raiding with 80 other people
Right.
purely from all the voices and craziness.
Yeah, he's awesome and will be missed. And I'm super stoked that that WoW and Blizzard, sees the impact and are willing to do something cool. So there's that, and there's our show, everybody. Thanks for being here. A little longer today, but I knew it would be. There's so much cool stuff to chew on this week.
Deservedly so.
Hell of a show.
I
Yeah.
mean, if someone wants to do a super cut where you cut out all the irrelevant stuff we talk about, it'd probably be about normal length.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all gold.
10 minutes. 10 minutes is all it'll be.
Yeah.
Dills, what's going on, man? You got an angry chicken. What else? What are we doing here?
Well, I have a little bit of sad news first. Is that I have to step down from Into the Nexus, which was our Heroes of the Storm podcast, and people on Twitter were saying stuff like, "I hope things get better for you." It's not because there's some big crazy thing going on in my life.
This is what Twitter does, yeah.
Yeah, no, there's not like some crazy sad thing that happened. It's just basically I do too many shows, and I also have quit captaining pool teams and a couple other things that I'd just taken on in my life, and it was just becoming a little too much.
Yeah.
You work a full-time job. Not all of us are Scott Johnson's strength, where we can just do everything all the time.
Or as crazy as me, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, Scott's like adding shows, but no, it just got to a point where I had to make some decisions, and basically the only reason was Into the Nexus was the newest show on my roster.
Yeah.
So it was just the one that I had to cut. So
Sure.
not leaving TAC, not leaving Instance, not leaving TortureCast, not all that stuff's still happening.
Sure.
But it's sad. I want everyone to go check that show out, though. Garrett and Kyle are still going to be doing it.
Yeah.
It's still going to be great, and that game is still going to be huge when it finally actually hits.
Yeah.
But then I also want to, real quick, I want to point something out, and if anybody feels like they want to support something that's really cool, there's a guy who he lives in Australia, and we have an MGA chapter out there.
Yeah.
And one of their friends had an accident when he was 24 years old and broke his neck, and is now quadriplegic.
Ugh.
And they had a great idea. He was always like a sporting type of guy, and they had a great idea out there. And they actually talked to some doctors, and they found out that they can build this rig that will allow him to play golf, and he'll be able to play on the MGA tour.
Wow.
And actually, the rig they're going to be building for him is like the first of its kind. So once this first one is built, this will actually open up opportunities for other people to have one of these things for less money than this original one.
Yeah.
But basically, there's a GoFundMe, and they're trying to raise $12K. We've gotten to 4K so far, and a bunch of people from the MGA have donated. Like, we go out and play a round of golf and donate $1 per every stroke we shoot and things like that. But any little bit helps. So if anybody out there feels like this is something they'd be interested in helping out, I encourage you to go check it out. It's go to GoFundMe.com and just search for Benny Wise. The URL is actually kind of complicated, so I'm not going to give that. But
Wise,
if you search Benny Wise,
W-I-S-E?
Yes, so Benny Wise, all one word. That's kind of his nickname.
Okay.
And yeah, he's a cool guy. He wants to play golf. He wants to be a quadriplegic and play some golf.
That's
and I
awesome.
think
That's
that
awesome.
would be fantastic if we could make that happen.
Yeah,
so
totally cool cause.
1/3 of the way there. So no matter what it is, $1, $2, whatever.
All right.
Doesn't matter.
Well, details on that and all kinds of other stuff, just follow Dills at Willie Dills on Twitter. He'll keep you informed. And links and all that stuff will probably be easy to click there as well. Terpster, anything going on you want to... You just got back from your trip. You probably haven't settled in yet.
Yeah, so back from the trip. Well, yeah, we've got the new Hearthstone videos coming out on Yogscast. Check out. So that's our Nax challenge stuff.
Yeah.
And it features basically one of our guys is Michael Jackson from Thriller.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's worth watching. But yeah, otherwise, I'm off to Insomnia next weekend. So I probably won't be around for the show next week, but I'm going to try and see if I can find like a quiet corner.
It's like a gaming convention or something.
So it's a PC gaming convention held in like the Midlands of England, and it should be really fun. So if you're in the UK, make sure you Google I-52 and come along and say hi. But that's going to be good fun. And I expect things to be suitably manic up until that point.
Yeah. Oh, so, speaking of Insomnia, that's also another really good Robin Williams movie with Al Pacino.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah, that was so good.
Yeah.
And that was one of his kind of
dark, man.
real
That was
defining,
the
kind of
1 hour
dark ones,
photo and Insomnia.
Yeah, he had a string of films there
that
that was just like, woo, these are rough, some of these. But yeah, anyway, worth seeing. Christopher Nolan movie, too, which people forget he did that. Awesome. With all that
Dead
stuff.
Poet Society will always be.
Oh, it's Captain My Captain, dude.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, hell of a thing. My favorite is Fisher King, and I also have a real soft spot for the Birdcage. If anybody wants to see, and that's streaming right now.
Yeah.
It's so
yeah,
funny.
Birdcage is good fun. Yeah,
So freaking funny, and it's a role where he gets to like not be center stage all the time. He gives Nathan Lane all kinds of room to do what Nathan Lane does. That's a hell of a movie.
Yeah,
People
that
should watch
movie was so funny because that movie was kind of a big deal here too.
Yeah,
in San Francisco.
I bet. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that movie.
It was so good. It's on streaming, so people should watch it. That's going to do it for us. Thank you, Matthew Oxley, for our theme music. Leave your reviews on iTunes for the show or wherever podcasts are distributed. Paul Swicker does our show notes and website stuff. Big thanks to him. Forum, show notes, and archives and more at theinstance.net. You can find us on Twitter at Instance Show, Turpster at _T, Dills at Willie Dills, and me at Scott Johnson. You can find us on Facebook and all over the damn place. Just search for us. It's going to do it for us. We'll be back with more WoW stuff next time. Everybody within the sound of my voice, take care.
We will never be slaves!
We will never be slaves!
Oh, the voice work in that game.
So
but
good.
we will be conquerors.
What was that again? Conquerors!
What's weird about that, if you listen to it, is like the "We Will Never Be Slaves" sounds like great and quite echoey and like real.
Yeah.
And then the other voiceover just sounds like he did a pickup in a sound booth.
You got-
like after yeah, Grom, we didn't really get the
last
guy,
week.
the second line on location. Can you just we've set up a booth. Can you just record